On today's episode of Paul's Speed Shop, I drive a car that will barely do a burnout, but I explain why it is the perfect platform for a project car. What's up, guys? I just want to take a couple minutes and talk about why I think the majority of project cars don't get finished. Whether this is just like a totally stock, like put it back together the way it left the factory, I don't even mean a restoration, or a full-blown race car. The reason I think people don't finish their cars is they don't drive them. Let me explain. I genuinely think that the only people who should go buy a roller are people who have an entire drivetrain already waiting for it, or the people who can take that roller and bring it to a shop and stroke them a big fat check and say, "This is my vision for the car, call me when it's done." And if that's you, good for you. Congratulations, you have a ton of disposable income, but this probably isn't the channel for you. For the rest of us, people who work regular jobs and have a life and a family, etc., we just can't do that. And so if you go buy a car and it doesn't run, more than likely, what's gonna happen is, think about this. How many times have you been over to someone's house or their shop or garage or whatever, and they have this badass car sitting in the corner, and they tell you all about these plans and everything that they have for it, right? And you come back over like 2 or 3 years later, and the same car is still sitting over there, and they haven't done a damn thing to it. Why? If you buy a car that you can't drive to the store, and then turn around and look back over your shoulder and be like, I can't believe I own this car, I love this car. If you can't drive it around the block, and you don't have to even have a car you can drive to the store. Maybe like none of the lights work, there's no hood on it, the exhaust isn't hooked up, it's on 4 mismatched tires, it barely runs, but you can still take it around the block once a month. You will still be into it. Or if you can just drive it to the grocery store with the 4-cylinder or the V6 or the clapped out Smog 305 that you plan to pull out and put a twin turbo big block in place of, whatever your plans are, and still just driving it the way it left the factory, you're like in love with it, you love it, you will finish that car because you're driving it, you're investing your time into it, you are making memories in that car. And so you're emotionally invested in it. But if it doesn't run and it doesn't drive, and all it does is it's a yard ornament, just sits in your driveway, or it sits in your front yard, or it sits in your shop and you throw, old work clothes and tools and shop manuals and other shit on it, you're never going to be emotionally invested into it to the point that you're going to put the time and energy into finishing it the way that you have the vision in your head. And on top of that, if you drive that car and you're not into it and you don't love it, good. Cut your losses. Just sell it. And then instead of having put hundreds of hours of your time and thousands of dollars of your hard-earned money into this car that you're just not into, you cut your losses and let it be someone else's problem. And maybe that's their car, that's what they want. But the point I'm trying to make is this. I see this all the time. People buy this car and it doesn't run, doesn't drive, it's a roller or whatever, and they have these huge plans for it and they never come to fruition. it just sits around and nothing happens. And I'm not saying you have to buy a car that you can go drive from here to the other side of the country. This car didn't run and drive when I bought it. I had to put a couple weekends of time into it. But it sat around for like almost a year before I finally made myself go work on it. And I was at the point that I was going to sell this car, despite the fact that this is my dream car. So don't let that happen to you. If you can make memories in the car and drive it and enjoy it and be into it, it doesn't have to be a daily driver. Just something that you can just crank up and run around and like just stay motivated on. It's really hard to be motivated on a car that's nothing more than a stationary object in your yard or in your shop. And I really think that's the number one reason that those cars don't get finished. People aren't into them. And if you're not involved in that car, if you don't love it, you'll never make yourself make that car a priority. And that's really it. That's all I've got. Like, you can do this. You can build a hot rod. Just don't set yourself up for failure. If you can take a roller and you've already got everything ready to go to put into it, good. If you can go write the big fat check at a restoration or hot rod shop, good. If you're a regular person like me, or most of the people who are probably watching this, buy a car that you can get running and driving in a couple weeks. Put the time into it then, while you're still fresh and psyched about the project. And then just drive it around. Enjoy it. Take the time to find the good deals on the parts that you need to make that car fit your vision. And then one day, pull it into your garage or into your driveway and thrash on it for a couple of weeks. And then drive it away the way that you think of it in your head. And you will love it. I guarantee it. See ya.